Rain and the Moon by Onyx Moon, read by Lily6645. This fic may include death experiences, angst, and implied abuse. Chapter 3, Light's Concern. Summary. Moonlight, Aizawa. Sunshine, Hazashi. Aizawa. It took longer than it needed to get to UA. They got stopped by a concerned crowd that was working at this ungodly hour. They sat there for a good 20-30 minutes. At some point in the time, Shota got into the back seat to wrap Rain's wound with his scarf because it had started to bleed again. Though to wrap said wound, he had to lift them up very carefully to get his scarf around their torso.
Stay with me, Rain.
Shota sat Rain into his lap. Finally, the traffic moved. The dark-haired man sagged in relief, still aware of the kid and in his lap. His eyes slipped shut. He was exhausted. Shota's phone buzzed. Begrudgingly, he shifted it out of his pocket. Unconsciously, he tightened his grip on the capture scarf. Looking down at the notification, he sighed. Lights. Sunlight.
Sho, you were supposed to be home by now.
Moonlight.
Something came up with Rain.
Moonlight.
Tsukachi is driving us to UA.
Sunlight.
Wait! What happened? Is the little listener okay?
Sunlight.
No, forget that. I'll just meet you there.
Sunlight is offline.
Moonlight. Zashi, you didn't have to. You need sleep. You have to teach tomorrow.
5:02 a.m.
Moonlight. Sigh. Moonlight. Why do I even try?
The sound of Rain coughing drew his attention away from his phone to the vigilante in his lap. What's going on? Where am I? They asked quietly and breathlessly. The car hit something on the road. Rain's face scrunched up, and what he presumed to be pain from his wound being jostled. Shota held them a little closer.
We're going to UA.
He looked out the window, and just over in the distance was UA High. He looked back down at his phone to open Recovery Girl's contact, to tell her that they were coming to UA. Debating whether to call or text her, he reasoned that she would be asleep, so calling was the best option. Ring, ring. Come on, pick up. Ring.
What do you need, Aizawa?
Can you go to UA and get a bed ready? I'll explain when we get there.
There was a sigh on the other end of the line.
Fine, but it's only because I was about to leave anyway.
Thank you. We'll be there in about 10 minutes.
Shota was running to Recovery Girl's office, with Tsukachi right on his heels. Rain was unconscious. Their breathing was shallow. He could see the door. Slamming said door open, he shouted,
Trio! Where are you?
Right here, dear. Now, who do you have here?
She came out of her office. Rain. That's their name. They got hurt and refused to go to the hospital.
Walking over to the bed, he sat them down and unraveled his capture scarf.
Let me take a look.
And RG got to work. Hazashi. As soon as Sho had sent the message that they were headed to UA because something happened with Rain, they ran to get everything he needed or possibly could need, such as an extra pair of clothes for himself and his husband, the soft black blanket that Sho loved. He also loved it because of the cats that were printed on. Then they were out the door in a flash and into the car faster. Hazashi was running through the hall. Come on, run faster! He turned the last corner, just a couple more steps, and he would be at the infirmary. They stopped in front of the door, took a deep breath, and opened it. The sight he was met with was concerning, but not as bad as it could be. Shota was sitting, poised and anxious, next to the bed that they presumed Rain to be in. Sho hadn't seemed to notice him. It was probably because he was more concerned on the kid instead of intruders. Why would he be worried about intruders? They were in UA. It was safe. Sho! He took a step forward, making his presence known. Said man's leg was tapping. I told you to get sleep. He turned slightly to look at him. Hazashi came up behind Shota and put the blanket he brought around his shoulders. I will, but I'm gonna be here with you and Rain. As long as you get sleep. Shota pulled his blanket off and placed it on Rain. This shocked Hazashi. He didn't show it on his face. Sho never shared that blanket. He only shared it with him twice. Once when they got married, and then for their 4th-year anniversary. What did RG say? In the morning, please, Zashi. Yeah, of course, love. He smiled softly at Shota and settled into one of the chairs to sleep. Night. Yeah, night. Shota leaned forward to lay his upper body on the bed. Izuku. He woke to the smell of antiseptic. He wrinkled his nose at the unpleasantness of the smell. Opening his eyes, he looked around with an exhausted gaze. Eraser was at the foot of the bed. He was laying on it. There was also a man he didn't know in a chair not too far away. The only way he could see this was because of his quirk, Shadow Cloud. Shadow Cloud. It allows the user to manipulate shadows into clouds or other objects such as knives and shadow people or animals. But it is mostly used to make clouds. There is another aspect to this quirk, and that is to be able to see in the dark well. It would be like seeing in daylight. The side effect of this quirk is that their eyes are sensitive to the light and they get sunburned easily. The user easily loses control when under stress or is enraged. The shadow will do what it needs to get them calmer and or to a place they need or want to be. Izuku tried to shift, but was stopped by the pain that erupted from his right side. Shit, that's going to be a problem. Looking down, he noticed a blanket had been placed on top of him. It had cats all over it. When he picked it up, the fabric was just the right amount of soft, and it was thin. Izuku loved it. He reached for where his bedside table would have been if he was at home, for his phone. He sighed because that's right, he had been so fucking dumb to leave his phone at home. The shadows around him twisted and contorted. Izuku was starting to internally panic because he was injured and in an unknown place. A few of the shadows settled into silhouettes of people. One came and gently lifted him. The other shadows guided / when protecting Izuku, and the shadow that held him. They took him home. Izuku was tensely controlling them. Aizawa. He woke up panicked. The hand that was on his blanket clenched, and he was now clutching it. He looked up to an empty bed. Rain wasn't there. He stood up so fast that the chair he was sitting in flipped back. Hazashi! His husband was awoken by Shota's shout. What? They had been in the middle of rubbing the sleep, for they noticed that Rain was missing. Where is Rain? Shota had turned to erase his quirk. I don't know. Shota grabbed his blanket and wrapped it around himself. That is the end of Chapter 3 of Rain and the Moon by Onyx Moon on AO3. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this, please go support the original author. Link in the description below. Hope you have a great day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye, kittens.